Next up, our second talker of the day is Claire Quansah. Now, Claire describes herself as your agency leadership ally. She helps you to ditch the chaos and to find consistent and clear ways of working. Now, Claire is here today to talk to us about diversity and inclusion and how we can connect people with processes. Please can we give Claire a round of applause?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So, yes, I'm going to talk to you briefly today about inclusion. Actually, it's interesting that Elka was talking about leadership, because a lot of the time when I speak to agency leaders, they do talk to me about saying, how can we become more inclusive as an agency, as an organisation? What often tends to happen is people rely on things like unconscious bias training, which is a good thing to do to understand your biases. But then they say, but you know what? I'm a really good person. I'm a really friendly and open person. Why can't we do a better job of it? I'm here to tell you that it's great to be a good person, but being a good person sometimes just isn't enough. There are actions and things that you have to do to be able to change that, to be able to make your organisations more inclusive. There's an analogy that people often use with diversity inclusion that says, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. That's great, but where you want to get to within any organisation is a point of belonging, where people feel like they actually belong and are connected to your organisation, to your agency. So I say with belonging, it's about knowing that even if you don't have the best rhythm, sorry, I was looking at you, Peter. I don't know what your rhythm's like, but, even if you don't have the best rhythm, or if you want to stand in the kitchen eating crisps and talking to people, you still know that actually you have something to contribute to the party and you can still bring something to it. But to get to that point requires action and intention, no matter how positive and warm your heart may be. I'm going to stick to the party theme and think about a potential party game. Don't worry, we don't actually have to play it. Some of you may well have played in the past a game called Never Have I Ever. Don't worry, no drinks or anything involved. I just want to think about actually if there are things, experiences that you can connect to. Never have I ever been the only person in the room that looks like me. Never have I ever had to contact a venue in advance to check that I can access it independently. Never have I ever had to shorten or change my name just to make it easier for other people. Never have I ever been concerned about attending a social event because I'm concerned about maybe the cost or the safety of getting home. Never have I ever had to clarify or been nervous about clarifying the gender or gender identity of somebody I'm in a relationship with. Now, I'm not going to ask you for your answers or how you respond to that, because everybody will have different responses. That's the joy of human beings, isn't it? We're all different. We all have different experiences. But when we are growing and building organisations, what tends to happen is we work from our own experience and our own perspective. To be able to truly build inclusive organisations, we have to step outside of our bubbles and bring in the perspectives of other people. And that requires action. Now, I touched on the fact that we have to bring in processes in there, because what often happens is, again, we will talk about the fun stuff. Agencies will think about the fun that we like to talk about, what will create a great LinkedIn post or a great Instagram reel and whatnot. But there's things that need to happen in the background that truly make a difference. For example, lots of you might say that you've got a family-friendly agency. That's a really common thing. But it might mean that, okay, you let people take an afternoon off to go to record a concert or whatever it might be. Or you bring kids into the office and have fun with them, and it's all lovey-dovey. But then actually, if I was to look at your processes or maybe even your policies, they only really recognise certain ways that families are formed. They might not even recognise the other ways that families can be formed, like adoption, surrogacy, kinship. At the other extreme, some agencies might have every single piece of paper they know of, all the different policies that recognise so many different things, but on a day-to-day basis, what tends to happen is, well, some people get the eye roll if they do need to leave early, or I've heard examples of, we can't put that person onto a particular project because they're going to be too busy with their kids. Both examples of people saying they're family friendly, but actually the people and the policies, process side stuff aren't working together. To create a truly inclusive organisation, your people and your policies and practices have to come together. So short on time, but if I was to look into your party and find out, if just how things are working, here are 5 places that I'd say you probably want to start doing some more work. Your recruitment processes. What does that actually look like? Rather than delving straight into putting that post on LinkedIn saying we're hiring, well, have you actually defined what the recruitment process looks like? How many stages are there? What do you want to get out of each stage to understand the people that you've got as candidates? What's the criteria? What's the salary? Are you prepared to share it? Because a lot of people don't, and that's one of the key barriers to addressing inclusion. Once you've got people in your agency, what does progress look like? How often is that based on gut instinct of somebody saying, oh, you've done a great job? And how much is it actually to do with people knowing how they can get to the next stage of their career? Is that captured? Is it clear? What about the support that's given to people to be able to develop things like training? I often hear agencies saying, oh, everybody gets a budget for the year for training, but you get to the end of the year and it's hardly been spent. Well, why is that? Who's there to be able to make sure that people are getting the support that they need? There was research done by the Black Comms Network that found that Black colleagues were more likely to have training requests turned down than their white colleagues. Now, there could be plenty of reasons for that, but it might be because maybe there's a lack of clear criteria or structure in place that helps people to understand how to access training and support. 3, your project scoping. This can often be where bias can really stick in when you're allocating work and projects. Who's making that decision? What justification are people giving to be able to put certain people on certain projects? Are there patterns in terms of who's getting the biggest or the most exciting pieces of work? 4th area, your technology. What does your tech stack look like? Have you ever asked the question in terms of how accessible it is? Have you asked your suppliers? Have you ever thought to even ask your teams, what about the tools that we use? Is there anything that's making you slow down in your work, that's slowing down your job and making it more difficult for you? Why not do something like that? Why not look at actually, do you have budget available to be able to provide adaptive or assistive technologies? Because some people may not actively ask for them, but know that those options are there will really, really help. Area number 5, and it's not quite a process, but something I think is really important, is your approach to meetings. Often, I think if you were to sit back and look at a meeting or idea session in your agency, just stop and think, who's speaking most? Who's speaking the least? Do people challenge? Who are they prepared to challenge? How is that challenge received and responded to? Because it's highly likely that you'll notice patterns there as well. One of the most impactful meetings that I think happens in any kind of agency is an exit interview. And I'm not saying you should stack all your staff just to get information from them, but actually this is where people will often share the things that have been frustrating them, the things that you probably could have changed and addressed. So rather than waiting for people to be on their way out, why not find the time to ask them what's making them stay? Or what would make them stay even longer? What are the changes or things that need to be addressed in the agency that will help them to stay? But a bonus point for all of you as leaders is to spend some time thinking about the experiences of others, what you don't know, those people that are outside of your own bubble. How can you ensure that you can understand them better? What are the steps that you need to take as an individual? See, when it comes to all of the things that I've mentioned, it's not necessarily around trying to justify diversity or inclusion. There's plenty of stats out there that talk about how important it is. This stuff actually helps you. It helps you in terms of staff retention. It helps you to reduce things like sick leave. It can help you to improve productivity as well across your teams. But it does take work and it takes action and commitment. These things can't just be done as a one-off. You need to communicate with your teams to let them know that this is what you're doing. You need to listen to what they have to say or maybe what they're not saying. And you need to commit. You need to be consistent and be doing this stuff regularly and challenging people maybe when they're not. So I'm going to end now, but I will say to you, take that time, put in the work, listen to your teams, bring your people and your processes together, and hopefully you'll be hosting the parties that everybody wants to attend. Thank you.